Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I'm going to give a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Paul Simon, Will Brax, Melby Stiles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Mac 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, and A Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, and David Wayne Foster. So a huge, massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'm going to hand over to whoever is in Google and Discord so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show. It was on topic, which is why it went on for a while.
Yeah, but I missed it all. I had no reception, so I missed a good one. Maybe there was a reason why I wasn't there.
See, I've heard the Globers jump on Righteous for being just doing stuff to ballers too. That's the only reason I would defend him. Because if you're a moderator, both sides are going to hate you.
Exactly.
You're a good moderator.
Yeah, but one thing I took out of it, when you got a baller standing up and defending you like Ed back in Righteous, it just seemed a little strange.
Why?
It only means Ed has some principles.
Yeah, exactly. It's not suddenly, wow, isn't it amazing that Ed's a normal human being to some extent? That's not a shock at all.
No, that's not it.
Okay, what is it? I was waiting for you to tell me what it was just now. Okay.
I will refrain from any further discussion about Righteous as a moderator.
Oh, okay.
I can see where people come from because it's easy to associate the people you argue with as not being human anymore, but that's just not true.
So, meanwhile, the Earth is still flat.
Yeah. But John's right. People are people, and regardless of which side of the fence you sit on, a lot of people's characteristics and behaviour are similar. I'm not just about to reel off a whole load of stereotypes. I'm just saying people are people, and they often behave in very similar ways. They've got similar motivations as well. Similar desires, similar principles.
Yeah, but when people are complaining about the same thing over and over again, isn't that like, hello, let's look into this a little bit? Anyway, I'm done.
That refrain didn't last.
So
That refrain didn't last long.
Hey, we never did get to talk about the confounding variable on that one show.
That's a great segue. Feel free.
Like I was arguing with some ballers. They wanted to say the uranium, you know, they were trying to use uranium in their hypothesis, and they said that when you stand next to these rocks, people die. You know, and then like his big unveil, Jim Panda's big unveil was, well, let's see, if you realize it's radiation, it's not actually the rocks. And I was like, yeah, but standing next to them rocks still kills you, right? And that's when we got into an argument about certainty and whether he was certain if you could be certain.
Yeah, I remember it now because I qualified it with a different example and said, well, people could assert that, well, it's not the lack of citrus fruit that causes scurvy, it's the lack of vitamin C. And when they actually looked into what it was inside the citrus fruit that was being given to the person when they ate them as opposed to not ate them, you could see that it was actually the vitamin C. So you can't say oranges or the lack of oranges causes scurvy because it's not, it's the lack of vitamin C. Well, yeah, and likewise you can say, well, it's not the rocks. When you looked into it further, you established that it was radiation, and that would be part of a scientific theory, as opposed to a cause and effect relationship established through experiment, which could very well lead you to say that the cause of the deaths in the community near the rocks was the rocks, and that would be scientifically valid and require further explanation and further inquiry. Potentially further experiments to establish cause of further effect when you find out what the rocks are. But that doesn't mean that you can't suddenly invalidate the fact that, well, no, it's not rock that's the independent variable, it's radiation. So, well, that's how you start the journey of discovery. You've got to start somewhere, and you've got to vary something that you think causes the effect and make sure it does actually cause it. That's your first step in terms of empirical truth when you come and give an explanation to somebody about why the rocks cause people to die, or why the lack of oranges caused people to die.
Right. And I was saying you can build on knowledge established like that. But they were saying that you would come along and somehow disprove that oranges help stop scurvy somehow, you know?
No, that will
Like,
always,
well,
that's the thing, that will always hold true. And in terms of the rocks, it will be a specific type of rock, or a rock that's been exposed to a specific circumstance for it to be a radioactive rock. Now, without getting into the whys and wherefores of the validity of radiation and its assertions in that regard, the point is that once you've established the cause of an effect, that won't change, ever. If it did, it would violate the law of non-contradiction because you've got a null hypothesis that says if I vary this item, it will cause that effect, as opposed to the null, which says if I vary this item, it won't cause the effect. Well, they can't both simultaneously be true. Now, in this case, rocks, well, that will never change. Those particular rocks will always cause people to die if they're near them, if that's the claim. I don't know, I've not looked into it, but based on what you're saying, I'm just going to agree with you for the sake of ease. And in that instance, that's never going to change either. You might find out why the rocks have got a particular property or what the particular property is with further experimentation. But those rocks will always have that effect on people. That's never going to change.
Right.
Because it had.
There's different levels. There's different levels of causation in any event. Like you could also ultimately say the guy chose not to eat a citrus fruit with vitamin C in it, and that was the cause of him getting scurvy. Or the ultimate cause is the person chose to stand next to the uranium and get radiation poisoning. So it's really at different levels of causation that you're trying to determine at the same time. So you can go, there's different types of causes at the same time, you know, and ultimately, like if a human being's involved, there is an ultimate cause of the person making the choice to do it. But at the same time, there's other causes that you could, the consequences of those choices that you can also try to bear out as well.
I like the rock argument because it's a crushing blow against the ballers.
well, I don't think that was the argument they were making, Paul. They were making an argument that's they're one sec.
Hello.
Well, hey,
that's right.
Hey, Mr. Wee.
Yeah, but listen, I've been down that
Since
road
it's a
with
very
Japan. Go ahead, Flatsoy.
Sorry, Tim, that was a very dense pun.
I've been down that road with Jem Panda and M. Scott Veach. And their whole thing is, I'm telling you, they're trying to knock the scientific method as just the beginning stage, and they're on the higher science now. And it got to the point where they were like, well, that's the QE method. Not the QE method, it's the scientific method.
Right, but based on that method with an empirical result at the end, you can form theory. Now, lots and lots of experiments will have to be done for you to come up with the theory of plant growth, for the sake of argument, because there's going to be lots of different things that are affecting the outcome of that particular process. And likewise, in the example that was just given, it's like, well, you could extrapolate that, the cause, to be the man deciding not to eat oranges. It's like, well, no, that's supposed to be part of your diet. It's not, so therefore that's the cause. But if you wanted to, you could say, well, no, it is that, but that's pedantic.
You beat me to it, didn't you, Nathan?
Sorry.
They receive. That's why they love to put theory before experiment, because then they can rewrite it as science for them, and the people don't question anything because they're okay. It's scientific theory, so they obviously had to be an experiment.
Yeah, exactly. They use the word theory for an explanation of an effect, when the validation of the cause of the effect would be done with experiment, not with an explanation.
So let's go to what actually is bothering them.
Then they hijack science too, then, right?
What's bothering them?
Refraction.
Refraction?
See, the reason they keep bringing it up is because it's a death blow. I mean, how was QE's strategy when he devised the black swan argument? Nathan, you tell the story quite well. You said, why don't you use a better picture? He says, no, I want to use that picture. And what was the point of that?
So that they'd say refraction, because as soon as they say refraction, it's no longer geometric.
Right. So that is the death. We're focused on the black swan, and rightfully so. And it goes back and forth, and they're only out. I mean, we've all experienced it now for what, almost 20 months or whatever it's been, who knows. Refraction. Okay, well, what about it? Okay, well then it's done, it's over. So it puts them in the worst place.
Yeah, to the point that they have to draw tangents with a curve.
Well, they're no longer doing a claimed measurement the minute they say it's refracted. They used to claim they were measuring Earth curve. You know, that's not happening anymore.
So if refraction is their only comeback, then any measurement they've ever had for Earth curve is false.
Correct, and their entire model is subject to refraction always. So this idea that you can put yourself in a position where you can get a more accurate measurement of something that doesn't exist is nonsense also, because there's always terrestrial refraction. However, that refraction isn't real-world refraction. It's applied after the fact in the mathematics. So when they say refraction, looking at any photo of any description, you can immediately call foul, because their refraction only exists in the maths. It's based on R. Takes place in orthographic view and bends light around a presupposed atmosphere.
Correct. And since it's an add-on, they never could have seen the geometric horizon, which has to be physical, something that's blocking the boats and buildings at the different elevation heights of the viewer. So that could never have been ascertained to begin with, which means they never saw it, because you can't be seen, because it's not real.
And it is Earth curve. And if we lived on a sphere, it would be the most obvious thing in the world. Not subtle, not never seen. It would be a physical limitation to your view, as they claim in the calculator, until you point out that it's Earth curve beyond the geometric limitations they claim should obscure your view. Then it's refracted. That's the end of the globe model, because they need it to be geometric.
Yes, and real distances can be measured. And we could take the 2 oil rigs in question here, Habitat, for example. We know, at least I did this, and I know others did, went to the California Commission on the oil industry and the offshore platforms, and they give the exact distance from the shoreline to those platforms. So now we're on the shoreline from the place that they measured it. And if you go from Miramar Beach, it's going to be a little bit less or a little bit more, depending how the coastline veers from the original position. And those are set measurements of how far, because you can't build them too close to shore for environmental reasons. And you don't want them too far out, just because you don't want to go that far out, because that's where the oil is, right? So wherever the oil is where the rig is. And if you've got an actual measurement of 6.2 or 6.4 or 9.41 miles for the last one, that measurement doesn't change. And you can see, I see Catalina Island 24, 26 miles out with ease. It's not refracted. It's there. It's actually that many miles there. I mean, it's just in the real world. If you just talk about it, it's almost as if if you move it to astronavigation, if there was a star right over that last platform, 9.41 miles, I could use a sextant and hit that star, because its geographical position would be right over the oil platform. And I would have an accurate distance that would match. No refraction. Because from the zenith down, there is no refraction. This is just so over for the ballers.
Right.
Did that guy, the fundamentalist guy that was coming in, and like he accepted that he failed to measure geometry or whatever, and then he tried to use the sun. Do you know what trick he was getting ready to do? Or
Yeah, timing it going behind the physical geometric sphere edge horizon. It's the same thing. It's just a variation of the exact same claim, because you're going to time the distance to a physical sphere edge, and when the sun goes behind it, and then he's going to stand up and he's going to get his timings based on that and derive R from it. But it depends on having a sphere edge.
yeah, you got to draw a straight line to that sphere edge again, don't you? Okay, yeah, you got it. You got it. All right, never mind.
Not only had I got it, not only had it been discussed, somebody had already sent me a meme about it. I can't remember, it might have been Flatsoid. But somebody had shown the exact same argument that had come up a couple of months after the Black Swan first came out. And they tried to derive R and, well, just do the same thing. And somebody put together a meme with a picture of the Black Swan, a line saying, here's the geometric horizon, here's the sun, here's the apparent horizon, redundant, and which one's it going behind, right? You know, because it wrecks that claim. You need a sphere edge to be on a sphere. They're claiming we've got one. They're claiming it blocks boats, and buildings, right? That's their claim. Now they've got to deny their own claim.
But you think that would be like a wake-up call, maybe? Like, oh, shoot, the earth is flat. Instead, they fight harder against it. I don't get it.
I get it. I get it completely.
It was
Well,
a wake up
enlighten
call.
me.
For me.
Go on, John, because I like your story of how the Black Swan woke you up. Go ahead.
I mean, it was a wake up call for me, because I understood the argument of why I believed it was a sphere. You know, I thought that the horizon was a physical thing blocking stuff, and that I could measure it, because I thought measurements is how you determined reality. You know, and then all of a sudden I couldn't measure it anymore, but there's a plane that I was assuming a tangent on. Yeah, it hurt.
Yeah, it's painful. Got a good comprehension of why you're assuming you're on a sphere and that you've got a physical sphere edge horizon. Now, that doesn't take much, because if you go to anywhere that says, how do you debate a flat earther? Well, our argument on the globe starts with the horizon, they'll tell you. And then I'll show you an orthographic picture of a man looking at the side of a sphere with a boat blocked by a tangent point horizon, claimed to be Earth curve edge. That's their claim. As soon as you haven't got it anymore, well, it's the horizon we don't see. Well, it's the horizon that's in this maths, and the one we see is very close to it. The one that doesn't exist. You know, if you can do that mentally, if you can perform those mental gymnastics, number one, it's going to wear you out. And number two, if you're doing that, you've got to, at some level, realise it's nonsense. You can't be close to something that doesn't exist. And they're saying this side profile view with your own head in it is very close to you looking at the horizon in the distance. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's not representative of reality when you see the side of your own head in an orthographic view, and a claim that the ground beneath you is curving away at 8 inches per mile squared not depicted on any maps, not depicted on Google Earth, not measurable anymore if you haven't got a sphere edge to measure it against, and they haven't. So it's game over, globe. You know, it's the beginning of the end.
Yeah, but now they're saying that that was an average 8 inches per mile squared. It's not
Doesn't
really
matter.
what it is.
Doesn't matter. 8 inches per mile squared based on the drop from your position out towards the horizon. And then at the point that your view is limited at that rate, it's based on the geometry of a sphere with a physical obstruction blocking your view at that distance. Now, it's variable with height, but it doesn't change that it's going to be something that physically obscures your view. Likewise, you can see past a hill if you get a bit higher. Oh, I can't see over the hill. I'll climb this tree and now I can. Well, likewise, if Earth had a sphere edge getting in your way, blocking boats and buildings precisely as they claim in their maths, then it would block things. Not it would be refracted into the distance, because then it's not a geometric physical sphere edge blocking anything anymore. It's just a horizon that moves with the weather. It's nothing in terms of an assertion of a sphere. It does feel good though. We've debunked Earth curve, and prior to 2020, I could say we definitely debunked space. That's why it never got discussed. No one ever came on talking about NASA and how they prove we're on a sphere. That just never happened. So that was comprehensively done. But had we ever really debunked Earth curve when we were still asking why we saw too far and why horizons didn't bend? Ultimately, we were losing every time we made those arguments because we were still begging the question of a sphere edge that's physical and whether or not it'll bend, at how much it'll bend, at what altitude, how much it'll block boats and buildings by. If it's not blocking boats and buildings, why are things visible when they quote unquote shouldn't be? It's like all of those things leave us at a loss on the flat Earth side. 2020 comes along and we're like, horizon's not a sphere edge. That's the end. That's your claim. Bye bye, globe.
Yeah, we were falling right into their hands before the Black Swan, believe it or not.
Oh yeah, I know. I was having fun on the other side until then.
Yeah, arguing about why it doesn't bend. So we're both assuming it's a physical edge. We're both assuming that it's either going to bend because it's curved and a sphere Earth beneath us, or I'm going to assume that it's going to be flat because there's a flat Earth beneath us. But we've both got physical obscuring sphere edge horizons or flat Earth horizons that are or aren't going to bend. Yeah, that definitely leaves the sphere in the win at the beginning of the argument, like using the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. The moment you open the page, you've lost as a flat earther because you're on their ground, their territory. Well, now we don't have to argue all day about what the horizon's going to do, how high you're going to be to see it doing whatever it's doing. Refracted, all right, well, your calculator says we've got a geometric obstruction for boats and buildings. That's the end of your assertion, because you can never get R, and if you're going to try and claim the horizon's moved, you're going to need R, and you can't get it. So the end is left in tatters. You know, there's no claiming the Earth's a sphere anymore. You can't claim it from space. Space is fake. We wouldn't have any gas to breathe. And the claims from the ground were utilising a non-physical position that moves with the weather called the horizon, formerly called Earth curve.
I never looked at it that way because I always countered with, and all of you guys did too, with the properties of water and other things. And it was kind of like, yeah, but if we're sphere, then we would be noticing the curve everywhere and we see too far. So the second thing was, we see too far. Second was water. And then when the Black Swan came, it was like, oh my goodness, this is like the bedrock best argument against it because we're applying physicality to their very claim of bending of the Earth's surface. And it has to bend. It has to be there. And it's
Yeah,
not.
but when you say you see too far, you're assuming a sphere as well.
Correct.
No.
Correct.
Well, no.
Yes.
No, correct
Too
for someone
far?
else.
What do you mean too far? I see a clock at 20 miles and go, clock, 20 miles. That's my flat Earth explanation over. I see it because it's there. What's that you
That's
say?
right.
No, the clock's seen too far away. Well, why? Well, because I should assume that there's a sphere edge blocking it and therefore I shouldn't see it. Therefore seeing it means I'm seeing, quote, too far. No, I'm not seeing too far. I'm just seeing.
No, too far in that context, you're right. but too far in the context of the limitations of a sphere is
That's
not,
what Neil said. That's what Neil said. So you've lost. So you're already working under the construct of how much a sphere limits your view, and the phraseology that follows is you're seeing too far when you see something that the globe says you shouldn't see. So Neil's right.
No,
you are losing
no,
as soon
it's
as you
not.
claim that.
No, I disagree. I disagree because it's like a pre-version of the black swan. When I say, at least from the way I was doing it, I can't say others. I wasn't being drawn into an argument to where I'm in the sphere model and I'm saying we see too far, putting myself in the sphere argument. I was doing it like the black swan, like a precursor to it.
No, Ted, once you say you see too far, you're on that ball, buddy.
I'm not on that ball.
Hold on.
You have to like it, 10th. He's right.
Well, he may be.
Let me
He may
give
be
you
on mushrooms like you, but I ain't wrong on this one.
let me give you a rebuttal to it from a baller's position. You're right. It must be light bending at 7/6R.
You're right, 10th, again, as a baller. We do see too far on that day. And
But
now
that's
let's
not what I'm
explain. Hold on. Now let's explain why we, quote, see too far. Yeah? 7/6R explains why we see too far. Because seeing too far is a problem, isn't it? And we need to explain that problem. Well, that gives me an opportunity to beg the question of a sphere Earth, an atmosphere, air bending around it, light bending around that air, at a rate of a radius value that's derived from a physical geometric sphere edge horizon that would get in the way of the clock. And when you see the clock, you shouldn't see the clock. Therefore, it's a problem. It's not a problem. We're not seeing too far. It's just a clock.
Well, that's what I would say. I would say just that to them, and I wouldn't let them get any footing or traction on the 7/6R refraction. I wouldn't even let them go there.
You're wrong. As soon as you say see too far, you've already done it. You just didn't realize.
Exactly. Once you're there, you're there, Ted.
No, if I say,
I understand. Hold on. I understand what you're saying.
Wow, can I finish?
Let me just say one thing because I'm working. I'm going to go on mute. Once you put yourself there, I understand where you're coming from, but you're opening the door for them, and they're on the ball with you, explaining to you why we're seeing so far.
Okay, have it your way. I never had a problem with them. I shut their mouth every time. So it worked for me from the angle I was coming from.
Look, man, we know you love to beg the question. If they've got the radius value and they say it's within 5%, what do you mean? If they've got the radius value and the horizon's beyond where it's supposed to...
They contradict themselves.
Trigger 10th, rumpusing me.
No, I'm at rest sitting on the couch. I'll be quiet in a minute. Let me just get it out, like Neil said. I totally forgot my point after he interrupted.
Well, my point was that you like to beg the question, even after debunking the radius value at 3959 with Modus Tollens, you say, well, they come back with, if the Earth's a sphere and we've got direct... definitely triggered. Second attempt from me.
No, I like setting their own trap on them because according to Andrew Thomas Young, and here we go again, that the refraction could be no more than 3 point some miles out. So the black swan's well over 9.41. In fact,
if the Earth's
10.
back to being a sphere after
Huey's
debunking
head
the
is
radius
melting.
value. Yeah,
I
Neil's
don't
right,
care
10th.
whose head is melting.
Neil's right. You don't have to like it, but he is absolutely spot on. And every time I try and do it, or QE tries to do it, you have the same argument with us. No, I'm not begging the question. When I go to Andrew Thomas Young, who assumes the Earth is a sphere, references him assuming the Earth is a sphere, and how the assumption of an Earth with a sphere would have a radius reinserted to a debunked radius to push the horizon to 5% beyond its original position. That's your argument, and begs the question. Neil's right. You'd have to like it.
Okay.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, father of a stolen child, Mind Warped, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Everyone.
Only reply from Discord. That's a first. Well, good to have you all. Hello, G+. 10th Man gone on strike.
Hello.
Because I told him he was wrong in the pre-show.
Hello, I'm here. I'm working, so it's hard for me to get to my mute button.
That's fair enough.
I'm here. I just got back. Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Do a bit of housekeeping. Everyone keen? Everyone
Yeah.
riled up? We need a warm-up act. Ah, here he is. Hey, Arwin. Perfect timing.
Hello.
Hello, good
Hello.
to have you.
Good afternoon.
Right, the enthusiasm level's very low, Arwin. I'm keen. Let's do a bit of housekeeping. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Any evidence of a physical, geometric, sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
It only exists in the math, and that's all they need. Math
on.
is all you need.
Spot on. We only have one horizon. The horizon in there begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator is a physical Earth curve edge tangent point with a straight line drawn to it, and the response to the black swan is the horizon is refracted, debunking the Earth curve geometry. The horizon is not Earth curve. Any evidence?
Ballers don't like straight lines anymore.
They don't need the geometrical horizon to be in the place you see it in order to establish R, because they could simply calculate R based on going around the world and adding that all up.
I see. So they don't need to see it. They can just derive it from an assumption and a rubber ruler of the horizon, and then assert that the horizon's subsequently physical and getting in the way of stuff. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, terrestrial refraction simply makes it impossible to establish geometry through sight. So, yeah, just calculate it. There's no other way.
So you
That's
calculate.
not true. That's not.
You think the
That's not entirely true.
Go on then. Why not?
No, try. See, they have to have an R to begin with. They presumed an R. Now you got to prove your presupposition. And the black swan destroys their presupposition because they can't prove it. So they got to get rid of all straight lines because the tangent works against them rather than for them. So they're going to have to throw all geometry away to keep their presupposition.
No.
What?
No, they don't. They just gotta leave all the tie-ins to visual reality out of it, because terrestrial refraction makes applying geometry impossible.
Yeah, but their assertion is a geometric assertion that we have an Earth curve edge obstruction based on the physical geometry of an Earth that would obscure things. So now you're saying their claim after the Black Swan is, well, we can't use straight lines and we can't assert geometry at a visual level. And that's what they're doing, right? They're saying there's a second horizon that doesn't exist, that you can't see, that forms the rubber ruler horizon to be not in a position that it's going to be blocking things because it's refracted. But we're going to, as you say, calculate where it would be. And once we calculate where it'll be, we'll assert it gets in the way of things with its physicality.
Yes.
Yeah, but
After
calculating
being
and
subjected
measurements,
by terrestrial refraction, yes.
but calculating and measuring are not
That's
the same thing.
That's
No.
exactly what a kid told me last night. He was like, well, we would have to do it some non-optical way, like measuring the Earth. I'm like, yeah, when has that been done?
Exactly. It's not our problem to prove the claim. It's their problem. It's like, you've got a geometric horizon to prove, not us. I mean, that's already started. They're trying to push that burden onto us. Yeah, like we're claiming a physical Earth curve edge that should be blocking things. And when it doesn't,
Well,
you're going to tell us that our Earth curve edge is debunked, maybe it's ruined?
there's
Hey,
two.
listen, we don't need reference frames and we don't need geometric horizons.
Your geometric
According-
horizon's ruined.
According to them, Al-Biruni and Eratosthenes had to see it to measure it.
Right. Do they make tape measures with braille on them?
I don't know. I got one now. Sorry, Tent. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay. I'm used to it.
No one
Now I'm
claims
gonna
the
cut you off
horizon is
every
Earth
time.
curve.
Right on, George. Nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. Not anymore. Not since we debunked it.
Well, they can't say there was another way of ascertaining it because the two people they give credit to use their eyeballs.
Let's move on.
Well,
Okay.
no,
go
they
on.
might
But how much
basically
of the
just...
mountain can you see?
What?
Oh, what? Go on, George.
How much of the mountain can you see? We need to quantify this.
How much over the mountain can you see? Well, if you're lower than it, nothing. It's in the way, right?
Yeah, that's their argument. When you say that you see, let's say, a mountain 50 miles away, they ask you, how tall is the mountain? Why you need to quantify? You can see it. It's there.
Yeah, that's what we were discussing in the pre-show. The assertion from a flat earther that when you see something in the distance, that if the sphere edge paradigm claims that there's going to be an Earth curve edge horizon in the way, then seeing it means you're seeing it at too far, quote, a distance, which immediately begs the question that there should be something in the way. Well, no, you're just seeing it, and you're saying, well, you look at a mountain, why are you suddenly going to beg the question that there's a curved surface beneath your feet, curving away from you, potentially then having that curve corrected by the curve of the atmosphere and the light that bends around it to make it not look curved? It's like, it's all just a get out for the fact that it doesn't look curved and isn't obscuring things. That's all we hear. Explanations around problems that the globe Earth has because it's not a globe.
I don't want
Absolutely.
flat earthers to feel like they're obligated to like do battle against this refraction business. And I know that like, maybe calling it a hologram is not like what someone else wants to end the conversation with, but I promise you, all you have to do is to ask them, define it. That's all you have to do. Because when they say refraction, it's like, okay, give me the definition that applies to what you're saying is happening with the black swan. Like, give me something that's already defined and an example of it. And that'll expose that
You're
they're
assuming they
just
want to
repeating the word
understand it.
because they saw a debunked video on YouTube.
No, you both, Arwin and Eli, you're both kind of only half right, because what you're describing is an opportunity you're offering them as a flat earther to beg the question, because you're saying, how does this actually work? Hold on, I'll just let Adam in. Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Right, what were we talking about, Eli? What was your point again? I just want to round that out before Arwin jumps in. Eli, you there?
Yeah, sorry, I had some noise. But I was saying, when globe earthers bring up refraction, you can just ask them to define it and give
Perfect.
an example with the
Sorry,
definition.
yes, I'd forgotten what I was going to say, if I'm honest. It's opening the door for a bait and switch. So what you're saying to them is, describe in reality the refractive effect that matches what you're claiming is occurring with the physical sphere edge horizon when it moves to a non-geometric refracted location. How is that described in refractive terms? Now, there's a good chance that at that point, if they're a decent or reasonably educated fundy or a zealot, they'll come along and actually detail atmospheric effects like looming. Now, they may not get them right, but it doesn't matter. They'll describe something that occurs in reality. Does light deviate from straight, i.e. refract? Yes, it does. Will they be able to describe something that occurs in reality and give that a title that's accurate? Yes, they will. But their refraction on the globe isn't any of those descriptions that they will give you, because what they're applying is called terrestrial refraction, and it's a rate of the R value, 7/6 in standard form. 7/6 of the radius value is a mathematical term that can only be applied after the fact, when you've got your assumptions that Earth's a sphere, you've got your assumptions that you're seeing too far when you just look at a clock, and then you start applying how much correction the light bending is giving you based on the radius value. That's their refraction. And at some point, they'll switch from their description, accurate or otherwise, of an effect in nature to their terrestrial R-based refraction. So they just have to weasel it in. It's a bait and switch.
Maybe
Well,
we
right.
should rename it to
But
radial refraction.
that's why I didn't say, like the guy says define refraction, and I'm like, okay, well, I know what refraction is, but you're trying to apply it to this situation. So is there a definition from a source not from you that I can look at? Like oftentimes well, not often, there's nothing like that that exists. You're right. They would have to go to terrestrial refraction, but they can't, because that's begging the question too.
And we've debunked R. So at the point that they're moving the horizon and saying it's moved with refraction, in this case terrestrial refraction based on R, they need a tangent point horizon to get R. So they can't move it with an R value that they can no longer measure, because their horizon is supposed to be a derivation of the R value. It's supposed to be a physical obstruction blocking boats and buildings. It's Earth curve. That's what their horizon is. So they're justifying why their horizon isn't what it's supposed to be. And how they're justifying it is when the horizon is what it's supposed to be, a physical tangent point blocking boats and buildings, we get an R from it. And with that R that has come from a physical horizon we call Earth curve, I'm going to move that physical Earth curve horizon to a different position. That's what they're doing. It's paradoxically nonsensical.
Yeah, they're getting rid of the measurement, but trying to keep the calculation. It
Yep.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Oh, we can't get any R anymore. The horizon's not Earth curve. It's not based on R. It's not a sphere edge getting in your way. But the basis that it is a sphere edge getting in your way that we can get R from, we're going to use that measurement to move it. But no, you can't. That's a paradox.
Nobody claims the horizon is the curve of the Earth.
Tim Osman. Anyone got the show number for that?
No, I don't. I didn't memorize it yet.
I'll go look for it.
I thought you might have it in your notes, 10th. Thank you very much. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? Quote, Simon Dan, you and your reference frames have been ruined. End quote. Thanks, Dan.
Because we only got one reference frame that we observe, so there's another reference frame we don't observe.
Then no drift, no 15 degrees an hour, no Coriolis effect, no balls drifting through goals because Earth's turned beneath them, no snipers leading targets because they've had to have a correction for Earth turning beneath the bullet. All those claims, total nonsense in the first place, because if those claims were true, Earth would also turn underneath aeroplanes. for you to have the same visual effect from the ground of them drifting. That's what's claimed to occur. 15 degrees an hour drift. That would be Earth turning underneath things to cause them to drift from your vantage point. Well, that doesn't happen. It would shorten flight times if it did. And it would also mean you could launch a drone on the equator and it would whiz away 1,000 miles an hour as it tracks with the stars that are also claimed to have the same effect. So the stars would be stationary by way of the drone filming them, not from the ground that's turning beneath them. Of course, that would mean it would whiz away from you 1,000 miles an hour on the equator, and of course that does not happen. Nothing's drifting.
I guess that's what this claim and space have in common. They got two places that don't exist in their supposed proofs.
Same with Earth curve. Space doesn't exist, claimed to be a place you can get Earth curve proof from. Horizon doesn't exist as a physical Earth curve obstruction. But yet they claim they can use it to move the horizon to the non-physical position to get around a little problem of it not being in a geometric location anymore. Not being the curve of the Earth, not blocking things as it would if it was a physical Earth curve edge, as they claim in their calculator. Earth curve is so dead. Earth as a sphere is so dead. Space is so dead. The idea that we spin is so dead. Speaking of space, any evidence that you can have gas pressure, the stuff we're all breathing, without a container for it to press upon?
Without the balloon, there can be no pressure.
Without
You
the
mean
container. Go on.
the springs on gases pulling them down?
No.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I've been saying to Anthony. So Anthony's quite keen at the moment because he's got a new playmate in the form of Blue Marble Science. I'm sure he's been talking to you about this too, Adam, right?
He just texted me now, yeah.
You mean hillbilly blue balls?
He phoned me up last night and I had wires everywhere, right? I'm a bit... I won't go into the boring details. I would if it was a pre-show. Anyway, I had wires everywhere and I'm like... Oh. He phones me up and he's like, oh, why don't you just go live immediately? Like, you're having a laugh, right? There's kids and... I don't want to describe the disgusting things that were going on at the time, but it wasn't pleasant. Anyway, I'm like, no, I can't go live. What's the big deal? And he explains to me that Blue Marble Science has knocked his Cavendish experiment while specifically verbally detailing how important it is not to do that. And he's like, can I call this deception? Can I say he's trying to deceive people? I'm like, why do you even need to ask? So we have this conversation, and at the end of it, I said, do you realise this is all pointless? You know, I explained on yesterday's live show to Anthony, you know, when you get to the conclusions being drawn about the Cavendish, regardless of the arguments that occur about the apparatus itself, we have these problems about the assertion in the first instance, which is 106 years out of date now, which is to say that if you take gas, right, does gas attract its mass according to their definitions? It's a mass. It has mass. Therefore, it should attract mass. If mass, then mass attracts mass. That's their hypothesis for Cavendish, as ludicrous as that sounds. Nevertheless, that's their claim. Well, if mass, then mass attracts mass would mean that gas attracts gas, or is attracted to the mass of Earth. And it does completely the opposite. It has elastic collisions. So if it happens to encounter another gas particle, will it stick on it? Stay with it? No, it'll bounce off it. Elastic collisions. So gases absolutely fly in the face, no pun intended, of this assertion that mass attracts mass. It doesn't. And my point being that the Cavendish nonsense is all for nothing. It's a parlour trick. Not only is it a parlour trick, it's 106 years out of date, superseded by Einsteinian pseudo-Ramonian force space. So it's a waste of time. But, you know, more power to Anthony. He's stringing them along. Again, no pun intended.
I can see the personal pleasure in it. You're right. In terms of proving anything, all it does is give you the personal satisfaction of showing the ballers that, no, that thing you cling on to is just absolutely devoid of any validity with where you're trying to apply it. And in fact, as you can see, two independent parties are still trying to figure out what people are interpreting those results as, mass attracting mass, actually is. It's quite apparent that previous detections are clearly operational error, as demonstrated by, or intentional operational error, as shown the other day.
Right, that's Anthony's beef. I get it. But by the same token, 4 years ago, we were being instructed to go and measure things at beaches and cliffs and all the rest of that jazz, while they were chuckling away because they knew we were into their paradigm, begging the question along with them, and they're giving us all the orders and we're jumping to it. Well, now the tables have completely turned. Anthony knows Cavendish inside out, back to front. I know it and he knows it, right? He knows exactly how it fails. When I give him the reasons and whys and wherefores of why this will be debunked and demolished at the end of all the conclusory statements that may or may not be made based on the apparatus actually performing the way it's supposed to, or not, as the case may be, or it getting a nudge, as the case may be, it's just going to be the case that we say, no, what about gas? That's got mass. It's not attracting. End of claim. You're not proving anything. It's nonsense. Also,
Or
Einstein...
just ask for the hypothesis. That then destroys it to move forward from.
Exactly. It's getting shafted from one angle or another. But the point is, though, that Anthony's now calling the shots. Nah, I think you need to do it a bit more like this. Nah, I don't know if I like the way you've done that. The tables have completely turned. We are now in control. Not the other way around. We're barking orders at you to do your bloody parlour tricks and do them better. And what's going to happen at the end? Are you going to prove it when you get this apparatus to do what you hope it'll do? Because we'll just point out that gas disproves it. And that'll be the end of it. And we'll have a damn good laugh at you after us poking you to get it done differently or in line with Cavendish's instructions or CV Boys' claims. Yeah, we're in control now. Make no mistake of what's happening. The tables have completely turned.
Well, they still got control over their own minds, though. Did you hear about Mick West claiming that we're all holograms?
I don't want to hear the fantasy ramblings of a complete nutter.
Well, maybe he just broke. Maybe we just broke him. Once he realized by us pointing out, like, yeah, that means terrestrial refraction, nothing is where it is, it's all a hologram. So now maybe he's starting to compartmentalize things and just say, okay, everything I see, I am, everything around here is all a hologram. But all those things up there, that's physical reality, though.
Right, let me know when he gets to
like
him being a brain in a jar and I'll have a good damn laugh at him.
Yeah,
This
like
is actually
Rumpus.
the
He must
outcome
be
of
the
the
Matrix
of
then.
their worldview, though. If you stop and think about it for a second, they claim that the physical world cannot be proven ultimately, if you think about it, which means science doesn't prove things. So ultimately, nothing in the physical world can be proven. But you can prove things in a conceptual world like mathematics. So think about it.
Yeah, it's
That's the
complete arse about
consequence of
face.
the worldview.
Yeah, it's completely arse about face because mathematics may be able to describe things. Doesn't necessarily mean those things being described even exist. So maths is not reality. Physics, on the other hand, as the name implies, is dealing with the physical. So, no, completely the wrong way round, Paul. But that is what they claim. Nothing's empirical. You can't prove anything. Science doesn't prove anything, even though it's an empirical method designed solely to prove things. Nevertheless, that's what they claim, only to then go on and reify mathematics from the abstract descriptions of things that you can't experience into their actual worldview. It's pretty sad, but that is accurate, Paul. That is exactly what they do.
So can I tell my kids
It's
today
because
when they say...
Go on, Paul.
Oh, yeah, because they're remember, if you're a brain in a vat and we live in a virtual world, the only thing that's real is your mind.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When Mick West gets there, let me know so I can have a good laugh at him. Speaking of
He's
Cavendish,
already there. This is just a holographic projection, temporary.
Well, there could be a basis of truth in that in terms of probability distributions prior to a knower experiencing them. So from a certain angle, you can argue that there is I don't want to use the holographic word, but things that exist could, prior to them being experienced, only exist as a probability distribution. Now, this is a scientifically proven fact in terms of the double slit experiment. That's what it describes and how it describes it. How do you affect light existing only as a probability? could be here, but then it could be there. It might go here, it might go there. It could be here, and it's just a probability of where it will be, a likelihood, as opposed to a certitude. Well, upon knowing which path that light's travelling along, you affect the outcome and actualize the destination of the light. Well, that's you as a knower affecting something that didn't technically exist as a certainty until you got involved. Well, that can be extrapolated out into a semi-description of a Matrix-style world, if you like. Now, that's an extrapolation I'm not making here, but I'm saying that you can draw that comparison when you use scientific validity to things like the double slit or delayed choice quantum eraser. Those experiments can make those extrapolations more feasible. Make sense? Yes, Nathan, very well put. Thank you. I tried to be concise. Any scientific
I
evidence of
agree.
gravity?
Yes.
That's interesting.
No. No scientific evidence for gravity. In fact, gravity is just an ad hoc explanation for the Earth and their creation story.
Yeah, it's a incoherent argument, definitely.
Don't start. Don't do it.
Ha ha ha.
Now, let's not get polarized by any static forces or anything.
God, it's your fault, George. I'm blaming you. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Wait a second, are they talking about dielectric acceleration again?
No,
No,
Neil.
nobody's talking about it.
No.
Oh, okay.
I was
But-
every
But
single version.
apparently, the
of
cell
it.
phone is proof of astrophysics and science and the general theory of relativity.
Is that
Don't
so?
forget laptops.
Okay,
No,
go ahead.
cell phones, man.
Go ahead, Eli. What were you going to say, Eli? Or maybe not.
Cell phones would be technology. Am I right?
Yes, that's correct, Neil.
Thank you.
They often get bracketed together, science and technology. Well, no.
What about the hole on the donut or the shoe? Does it count?
It's
No,
not a
man.
natural
I mean,
phenomenon.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, man. He said, you know, all the science and technology should be, and things based on space physics should be taken away from flat earthers, so that, you know, we wake up like cavemen.
No, listen, they all
You
go
guys hear
together.
this?
They
No.
go together
Hold on,
when they're
Neil.
trying
Hold
to
on.
hijack science.
Hold on, Neil. Say that again, Chocolate.
Yeah, basically he was saying how, you know, this flat earth thing, and there's people that, you know, there's things like a cell phone that have science and space physics and astrophysics and Einstein's relativity in this, talking about his phone, right? So all these things are in a phone, but yet we have the nerve to be science deniers. He even said that, called the science deniers. So these things that are based on science and astrophysics and space physics, that's what he said, space physics, whatever that is. These things should be taken away from flat earthers so that we wake up like cavemen.
I'd like that clarified. That's what, if he said space physics, right, astrophysics. Yeah, okay. Show me something that's been established in the physical.
And Einstein's relativity is in your phone too. Yep.
It's nonsense. This is technology, as Neil correctly identified. This isn't science. So when we talk about science here, we're talking about natural science, the study of the physical and natural world. That's what science is. That's physics, not technology.
When did he say this, Chocolate? Is it recent?
The other night on James Corden's show.
All right, well,
Yep.
nice. Now let's get this guy in the arena, okay? He's always saying, no, he'll never come. He's calling us out. Now get his ass in here.
Yeah, I put it in Ball Busters. Nathan, you should have seen that. As soon as I put it in Ball Busters, your little icon showed up right underneath it.
Yeah, I've been there to
Yeah, I
share
just
one of my
watched
shows.
it last night, Joe. It's crazy.
I sat down, I was working after a long day getting some stuff squared away. I sit down, turn the TV on, it pops on, and within 3 seconds, Neil deGrasse Tyson's in my face talking about flat Earth. I shit you not.
What?
Yep.
Yep. It's in
It's space
Ballbusters.
physics.
Where?
I mean,
Well, this
John,
is great
you
news.
didn't know you had Einstein's relativity in your phone?
All you could hear
Jesus.
in my house was you.
It was hard for me to finish the whole video, man, but I was just like, let me just listen to the nonsense this guy is saying. But once he said space physics, like, I turned it off. I was just like, okay, I'm done. I can't anymore.
He's been at it for best part of 5 years now, ragging on flat earthers.
Yeah, because apparently he was disappointed in in the failure of people's belief in science, right? With the whole this pandemic thing, and he's been hiding out. So he's just disappointed, like a father is disappointed in his son. He's disappointed in the world of science. it's so cringe, man. That guy, it's unbelievable.
The sentiment I totally agree with.
You would.
No, I mean, I'm disappointed in what, up until a few years ago, was claimed and purveyed as being science. Now, his sentiment is I'm very disappointed in people's lack of belief in science. Well, I'm very disappointed in people's lack of belief in science also, because they come here and tell us that science doesn't prove things when it's an empirical method of establishing cause of natural phenomena. That's what science is, that's physics. Now he's saying I'm disappointed because people have got a phone in their back pocket and therefore don't believe the Earth's a sphere. That's your claim? That's crap. He doesn't understand what science is.
In the meantime, he still has to justify the claim that a ball deviates because of Coriolis effect. It's probably his most embarrassing claim ever.
It's
He
embarrassing.
doubled down on that, so I don't know why that's embarrassing.
I was going to say that's the rhetoric. That's not embarrassing. That's him as a heliocentric priest purveying the rhetoric as it should be purveyed.
The rhetoric is stupid.
Yeah, it's stupid, but that's what they claim. They claim Earth turns underneath footballs and bullets, and that's what Coriolis is. He's just detailing what he says is an effect of Coriolis on a claim to be turning Earth, as it should be claimed. Now, he's not got anybody stood next to him going, hang on a second, if Earth turns underneath that football for it to look like it curved through the goal, then the blimp filming the game has also got Earth turning underneath it. And that doesn't happen. It would also mean flights to be shortened when travelling west for us to see him seem to curve from the ground. Because that's what Coriolis is, right? Us seeing it seem to curve. Well, if we're seeing planes seem to curve, they're going to have flight times reduced. Is anyone standing next to him saying that? No, he's got some blonde bimbo going, oh, really, Mr. Tyson? That's so cool.
Yeah, it's a little sad how much they worship the guy. It's like, you're not saying anything. You're just making shit up, literally. People worship the words you say. It's disgusting.
Come on, man. He's the heliocentric Darth Vader. Come on.
It's the equivalent of us saying, without any argument attached, it's flat because cameras. It's so disappointing that people wake up day after day and they've got cameras and they don't realise the Earth's flat. And you're like, that is pretty weak. No, but cameras, technology, optics, and I give a really vague description of how a camera proves it's flat. Now, even that's a higher standard than what Neil deGrasse Tyson's done.
I mean,
Essentially, a good
any
part of
weaker
that.
of an argument than, oh yeah, I mean, you should just send an asteroid at a magical speed, and whatever angle that you send it at, it'll create a completely perfect circle. I mean, just send it at a magic speed. I mean, this is the level of argument that we're talking about right now. It's insanity.
Essentially a healthy chunk of that late night show with James. What's his name?
James Corden.
James Corden, yeah. A healthy chunk of that was science deniers.
Yep.
So if you get
I had
a
a
chance to
good
check it
chuckle.
out, go ahead.
I will.
I had a good chuckle of that because I'm like, yeah, really, coming from the same side that tells us science doesn't prove things anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, that's why you're all under the bus right now, Mr. DeGrasse, Smoking DeGrasse Tyson. That's why your own side throws you under the bus because you say things like that. It's ridiculous.
Proclaiming science deniers, and he's the chief pseudoscience or
That's what he's there for.
pseudoscientist. That's the irony.
But it's not ironic, that's his job. So he's there as the high priest of pretend science, pseudoscience. So obviously he's got to say, I'm very disappointed. Let's translate what he's saying. I'm so disappointed that people don't accept our pseudoscience, because our pseudoscience says we're on a ball. So I think we should take away all of the technology from flat earthers, because I claim technology is the same as my pseudoscience. So you technology-deprived flat earthers are like cavemen. That's what he's loosely saying. It's absolute garbage. It's so weak. I'll have to watch it before I pass judgment, because typically Neil deGrasse Tyson's a pretty adept magician. For example, when he's holding up the beach ball and saying you can't see the curve of the Earth from 1 inch above this beach ball, yeah, he's got everyone reifying the horizon into a physical sphere edge. Very clever. He's even laughing in our faces when he says that stuff is flat and he smacks a beach ball that's obviously round. Yeah? Well, his magic trick is to get you to reify the horizon into an edge that may or may not be bending. It's definitely a sphere edge, though. And as an example, you can't see the curve of the Earth from 140,000 feet. All right, but the curve of the Earth in your example is going to be an Earth curve edge obstruction based on the reification of your sphere ball in your hand. But so long as everybody's assuming the horizon's physical, it doesn't matter if we say, look, he's saying it's flat. No, he's saying it's a sphere edge without saying it. That's clever. In this instance, it sounds like he's saying if you've got a phone, you've got proof of the sphere in your back pocket. That's so weak. Not characteristic of deGrasse Tyson. I'm not trying to give him compliments, but I kind of am at the same time.
Yeah, well, he knows his target audience. We just went over this.
7 to 15-year-olds.
Right? And say again?
7 to 15-year-olds.
No, not just those. He's got. We'll go over it again tomorrow on Ballbusters. It's called The Game. Yeah, stay tuned.
Oh, cool. Sounds ace. It is just a game. There's no proof for a sphere. There's just tactics and debate ploys and games. That's what they've got now. No proof of a sphere. Just assumptions in mathematics and decrying actual science that does literally prove things. It's its only purpose. Well, they'll decry that while telling you that the mathematics they abstract into reality, that's where you actually live. While they fundy mute anything that disputes it and employ a whole load of other debate tactics. Decrying their own side is another weird tactic they have to employ, especially when it comes to Tyson. He didn't mean that. What, when he said that Earth turned underneath the football, he didn't mean it. That's exactly what he meant. It just doesn't happen because shortened flight times. Hello? No, he didn't mean it. Anyway.
I'll go ahead and repost it. I didn't identify who was in the video. That's on me.
While you're doing that, any evidence of the distance to the sun, as we're talking about the claims from astrophysicists?
Nope. Somebody
So,
asked.
so not my phone then? No.
You can present it if you want.
And then there was that lady, Sabine, who said, people are walking around with glasses on, So if you've got glasses and a phone, you got all types of glow proof, man. You in the game.
Would you not be heartbroken? I mean, we get praised as being the tip of the spear in terms of the debates when it comes to this subject. Well, you'd come away from here, hopefully, best case scenario, like John. And you're telling people how, yeah, I realised that my reification of a sphere belief hung on the idea that the horizon physically blocked things. When that was debunked, that's the end of it. Well, you'd hope that those would be the results of going to your high priest. I'm not saying I'm a high priest, by the way. That's not what I'm trying to say here. I'm saying that, by comparison, if you went to what you would consider to be the tip of the spear when it comes to proving the Earth's a sphere, someone like deGrasse Tyson, right, held up in high regard, And what you get from him is, you're like, I've just been on Flat Earth Debate and been annihilated. I know what I'll do. I'll go to the top of the top. I'll go to the High Priest. Hello, High Priest. I need the best sphere proof I can present when I next go into Flat Earth Debate. What you got? Well, you got a mobile. yeah, I've got a mobile, yeah. Well, that's it. That's all you need.
Well, Bob's your uncle.
Bob's your uncle. You got glasses? Yeah. Well, you go. Go back in. Tell them it's a sphere. You got a phone. Tell them how disappointed you are that they decry science. Off you go. I'd be disappointed if that's what I got for my High Priest.
Extremely. Magic speed and shit. Oh, man.
Well, not only do they show the disappointment, they throw him under the bus. That's not what really meant. What you mean, because we can debunk it really easily when we pay attention to your claim and then point out it doesn't happen as claimed by Tyson. Suddenly, that's not what he meant.
Yeah. The same thing with Michio Kaku when I say that quote. Oh no, that's not what he was talking about. Oh, he did say that cosmology is off by a factor of the 10 to the 120th power. He didn't mean that when he said that. Even after he describes, oh, that's a one with 120 zeros after it. He didn't mean that though. and then goes on to say this is the greatest mismatch between theory and experiment. He didn't mean that though. What he really meant was blah 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 blah. Oh, all right. Seems legit.
What he really meant was Earth is a sphere and there isn't anything we don't know about it. It's all been figured out. Go in peace. That's what he actually meant.
Indeed.
Well, that's the higher science that I've been talking about. Come on, you gotta evolve from the QE way. There's a higher science out there, and it gives you cell phones and eyeglasses.
Right.
Nathan, I got the show.
Troubleshooting. Development of technology. That's not science.
Nathan,
Yes.
I got the show for Tim Osman.
Oh, brilliant. What number was it?
It's 1304, and you could probably start it at the 123.22 mark. Just past the 124 mark.
Make a note of it myself. 1304.
Correct. 120. I mean, if you want to encapsulate what you wanted here, it starts at the 123.22 mark and goes just past the 124 mark.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve, if anybody's wondering why we're doing this admin during a live show. I was just intrigued to know which show it was that Tim Osman, like, I'm going to get this wrong now, I was going to say like Judas. Three times.
Denied the globe 3 times.
Yeah,
that's Peter. That's Peter, by the way, not Judas.
Yeah, I did it last time as well. It's Peter. I know. I did know this time. I just wanted to get the same correction, not pretending that I didn't get it wrong last time by saying Peter.
But the Judas one works because he hung himself.
Lovely. Just for fun, as we haven't asked it, any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Oh.
No, everything about their whole heliocentric globe Earth is made up. So these housekeeping questions must be bothering him so much. That's why they come here all triggered all the time.
Last but by no means least, any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
That's the start of the problem for them.
That's where it starts, and that's where it ends.
Yeah. Let me hear it. Chocolate.
Oh, did you hear the new one? You're gonna hear it next week on the Numpty clips. Back to what Chocolate was saying about them denying clear, plain language that their numpty priests give them. And next week, you're going to hear that the geometric horizon, that they had a typo, made a mistake. They just typed the definition in wrong.
No way.
Yes,
Please
sir. Just wait, it's coming.
Can I just clarify what you're talking about? Are you presumably taking them to a definition that points out that their horizon, the horizon they claim blocks and boats and buildings, is the geometric horizon. That's their horizon. And they go, no, it's just described wrong.
Yeah, it's defined wrong. It's a typo, or they just made an editing error, or it was a mistake. I'm telling you, dude. Look at
Earth curve's been defined wrong. Okie dokie.
You're all right. Yep.
and the new one. We haven't talked about this one too much. You see, their vocabulary. They should do a show, and thank us for giving at least some vocabulary, even if they don't know what the words mean. At least they have some vocabulary. Now they've taken the necessary antecedent consequent game and applied it to their geometric and apparent horizon. So the geometric horizon is the necessary antecedent to the apparent horizon.
I don't know what an antecedent is.
Wow. It's funny. They used to tell us that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
now, all of a sudden, it's all the rage.
I guarantee that's unorthodox doing that.
How could something that's never been seen or measured be the antecedent for anything?
Precisely. If it's the antecedent, it must
can't.
be real and must exist for the other thing to depend on it. Well, it doesn't exist. It only exists in the maths. Therefore, the horizon we experience is absolutely in no way, shape, or form dependent on some marked with an X labelled horizon point in a piece of mathematics that they assert is their world. It has no bearing on it. Something that exists doesn't have any bearing on something that does. Likewise, the anatomy of unicorns has no bearing on the anatomy of horses.
Well, they are in a world where a thought experiment is valid enough for them to have it exist. It's just a thought experiment. It's not real.
We're walking
No,
around.
no,
with
you're
thought
not. You're not.
experiments in our
I don't
phone,
think.
man.
I don't. It's not. You're not seeming to get this. They're saying that the geometric horizon does exist. We don't see it, but it projects another apparent horizon in arbitrary places.
Yeah, I know. I realise what they're saying. Yeah, they're saying it's a slightly looming non-standard refraction holographic horizon projected from the geometric antecedent horizon. I do understand what you're saying. I've heard it enough times.
They're saying it's the bat signal.
Yeah, it's the bat signal horizon.
They're saying the geometric horizon isn't something you can actually observe. It's just sort of a thought experiment. What you would see if the atmosphere did not exist. That's what they're saying.
That's literally what they're saying. When they're saying it's projecting, they're saying it's a bat signal horizon, man. Like, what?
That's what we get. That's a great name for it.
Look, what we're describing is according to them, horizon that is projecting into a non-geometric location. Now, their assertion that is claimed to prove Earth is a sphere is that we have a geometric location that obscures things. That's the claim. So they're basically decrying their own claim. That's where you end up with Tim Osman saying nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve, only for us to laugh and go, that is your claim. That is precisely what you claim. But when we point out that it isn't, you have to tell us, no, don't be silly. I'm not claiming the horizon's Earth curve. Yeah, that is what you're claiming. We've just debunked it. Now, when you project it into a different position and say it's a antecedent consequent relationship, well, then you'd need to have the geometric horizon in the first place. Now, for it to be geometric, it can't be refracted. Paradoxically, you can't refract it with R. So their refraction back to the bait and switch. Yeah, we're talking about how things will occur in the natural world with or without atmosphere. No. We're not talking about what occurs if sky vacuum actually worked and it took away all the gas we're breathing because it was a space for it to occupy. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about what geometry actually requires, and it requires the horizon to be a tangent. Without that point, which is debunked when they say it's refracted, it is the end of geometry. It's not, oh, well, we do have a tangent point horizon. No, you don't. If you can't see it, it's not a horizon. So it's not a projection of that which you can't see. It can't be seen. It's not assumed to be there as an antecedent when you can't see it, because you'd need to see it for it to be a tangent. If you can't, it's not. Bye-bye globe geometry. Bye-bye the assertion the horizon's Earth curve. It isn't, and you're telling us it isn't. To the point where you tell us nobody's claiming it either. Yeah, your argument starts with the horizon.
Nathan, that statement, nobody's claiming it, it has to be addressed correctly. When they gave a number to it, 3959 radius, they are compelled,
Sounds like a claim.
demanded by geometry that horizon at a 1 foot observer height has to be no further than 1.22 miles. So they're constrained by their own radius number of 3959. When that doesn't vet out in reality, that's when they go crazy. But it's the end of them because they have to stick to it.
Go crazy or realise the Earth's not a sphere. So John is our example of that. If he were here, I'm sure he'd regale us with the story he regaled us with in the pre-show. But ultimately speaking, when you appreciate that you need the horizon to be an obstruction of things in the distance, i.e. a physical hill getting in the way, Earth curve getting in the way, with its physicality, as soon as you realise that you haven't got that anymore, then you haven't got the assertion that proves you're on a sphere. Now, you make that assertion with an assumption of R in the first instance, and modus tollens takes that into account. If the Earth's a sphere, radius 3959, then every distance to horizon, that's the geometric horizon, Earth curve, can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, precisely as illustrated in your Earth curve maths. That's your claim, Globers. Now, the Black Swan demonstrates beyond all certitude that the distance to horizon is beyond the geometric limitations of Earth curve. Therefore, Earth curve is debunked. Don't have to like it. You can go mad, as 10th Man describes it, or you can do what John did and go, oh, right, we don't have Earth curve then. No, you do not. Earth's flat.
This is why they're going mad. It had to be seen to get the 3959. And they say we've never seen it due to refraction.
Exactly. Tip of the day from the chat says, bye-bye, Earth curve. Indeed. Or go nuts in the process and tell us how Earth curve, that used to claim to be blocked boats and buildings, is now a projection of an antecedent that only exists inside profile in maths. But it's very close, because seeing the side of your own head in maths and seeing your target not change in feet and inches, because that's an absolute value that won't change in their maths, and seeing an Earth curve obstruction with a straight line drawn to it claimed to be a tangent to an R value, all of those things apparently are very close to you just looking at a horizon. Seeing the side of your own head is very close to seeing a horizon. Very close indeed, according to them. The fact that it doesn't exist at all doesn't matter. It's still very close. The thing that doesn't exist. Don't have an Earth curve. Go on, Jin.
If I may, sorry, if I may just interrupt there.
Feel free.
There's a new force of nature just been discovered. I posted the link in your server right now. Okay?
Is it an emergent force?
Muron's strong evidence found for a new force of nature.
Was this the muon?
Live stream.
That was on the BBC, right?
Yeah.
BBC, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, my wife read that to me yesterday. I couldn't stop laughing.
Muons?
Intermolecular glue with it.
What's going on now?
Intermolecular glue?
This
Is that Moulin Rouge?
Yeah.
No, muon. M-U-O-N, presumably.
No, if it was Moulin Rouge, they'd have to face it.
I just posted it in Master
They're basically saying that then there's a new gravity and it's electromagnetic, and that's what makes things basically fall. In a nutshell.
Wow, what a weird coincidence.
How does that work for a
I
helium
knew
balloon?
it.
Hold on.
I knew it.
Hold on. That's
No, it's very strange.
Let me get it straight.
Bob's been
Hold on.
stuff like that.
Hold on, Mark. Let me get this straight. So, an idea that has been punted by Globebusters for the second time, has now made it to mainstream news in the face of the reality we actually encounter. Is that really what's just happened?
Good old
Correct. Basically, yes.
How interesting. Thanks,
On
Adam.
screen, Nate.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
The last sentence is interesting, but the results from the Muon 2 experiment don't add up to a conclusive discovery yet. Well, why announce it?
They should have started with that.
Yeah.
That should have been the first sentence instead of the last. But oopsie.
Maybe
Sounds like,
maybe they should do tea time and use a kettle before they post anything.
Hold up. Physicists say they have found possible signs of a fifth fundamental force.
Possible signs, okay.
Which they say is magnetic in nature.
But magnetism, then.
Yeah, basically what Bob's doing.
Well, they're
They already
putting
got
their
the EM
finger in the
force.
water. They're testing
they
to
need-
see if it's hot.
They already got the EM
Oh
force.
boy, Don
Who
Gio's gonna have
posted
an
it?
orgasm.
Yeah. I posted it. Did CBR1.
Sorry, Q, you were
says
saying something, right?
The experiment based at the Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory in Batavia, Illinois, searches for signs of new phenomena in physics by studying behavior of subatomic particles. Experiment? Searching for new phenomena?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you already have phenomena?
Searching phenomena. That's looking for stuff, but they're calling it an experiment. Make it sound a bit more science, right?
Yeah.
I've got to the reason.
There's a phenomenon interfering with their maths. That's what they're saying.
Who is UK lead, told the BBC News, "We have found the interaction of muons are not in agreement with the standard model. So they've got to, the model doesn't work, so they've got to invent another attractive force. The current widely accepted theory to explain how the building blocks of the universe behave. So it doesn't work, so we've got to stick something else in to try and make it work. So we'll discover muons."
I see. With that, I'm going to say.
Well, it is a muon argument.
Go on, you can have the last word, Tenth.
I say it is a muon argument.
You've got to see the subtle nuances in the argument they're making.
Nuances.
On that note, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. If I could figure out where the hell we are and what we're doing. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Also, below this video, there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Whole faction within, because real recognizes real, right? So there's the real people. Some people are genuinely ignorant. I might fall into that category more oftentimes than not, but I'm looking for truth. Then there's this other faction that still gives off that religious stench. You know what I mean? And so, they remind me of the Ocasio-Cortezes of the world. You know, the new Democrats that are going to come in and replace the old ones, except they're not. They're just gonna have the newer generation accept the same pseudo bullshit.
Yeah, you see how all our taxes are going up? Good luck with that.
It's the age-old saying, meet the new boss. Same as the old one.
Nathan, could you ask me the housekeeping question again for astrophysics? I think
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
no, but Bill Gates and Harvard may be about to claim one. So Bill Gates has gone mad again, and he's, if I share screen again, he's trying to dim the sun.
Oh, that seems like a great idea.
Yeah. So what they're saying is it's done by Harvard University, and the title would imply that called the Stratospheric Controlled Perturbation Experiment, which is being conducted by Harvard University scientists, and will study whether spraying a sun-reflecting aerosol, such as non-toxic calcium carbonate dust into the atmosphere, could offset the effects of global warming.
They're essentially just emitting chemtrails.
I think so.
And they want to put us in the matrix and just block out the sun. That's nice.
But it is related, and it's called the Stratospheric Controlled Perturbation Experiment. So we can have a look at that and check its hypothesis for a minute.
Is my mic working?
Stupid.
I read
Yes.
this, and it was supposed to be chalk, right?
Listen,
calcium carbonate, yeah.
the world is being run by maniacs.
we have-
Maniacs, psychopaths.
Calm down. We have an expert on chalk, Sir Chocolate. Please give us.
What?
Well, they're spraying chalk dust.
Not chocolate saying. It's chocolate, not chocolate.
Well, he's chock full of information, so I went to him.
Jeez,
Well,
man.
he's chocolate if you're Scottish.
Chocolate.
Very good.
Why? I don't say chocolate. I say chocolate. And coffee.
Well, we got
And coffee.
we got chocolate here and eraser. I mean, it goes together.
Wow. Chalk and eraser.
I like to think of
Bad.
I like to think of myself as a chocolate eraser.
That's a high bar you set for yourself.
High bar.
Now I'm going to have to hear about this dielectric acceleration and magnetism. Forget it. It's going to be all over now.
There you go.
No, you're not. Right. It's the same old thing.
That's another interesting one. I'll share another one with you that you talked about it coming up with us, and then this appeared. Some of the links. It's from 2009, but claiming magnetism is observed in gas for the first time. Again, not really. When you look into the details.
I seen that one. That's when you got to lower the temperature to 150 billionth of Kelvin.
MIT observed the behavior in a gas of lithium atoms. Listen to the difference. In a gas of lithium atoms, cooled to 150 billionth of 1 Kelvin above absolute zero. So, not gas.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
What are you laughing at? Who's laughing?
That's QE. What do you think?
I read that same thing when these guys were going crazy on what's his name, Brandon's channel, and I came across that MIT thing about
As
gas.
always, look, if confirmed. If confirmed.
Yeah, but it's not. It wasn't a
The
gas.
results on magnetism showing that of a gas on elementary particles known as fermions does not need a crystalline structure to be ferromagnetic. It has been. We're reporting things that haven't been confirmed yet.
Well, these are two stories back to back that nothing's been confirmed, and they're jumping all over it because the current model is dead.
They need a new paradigm.
I don't think they're I don't think they're. It's not. They're replacing it, and
No,
we're
but it's
seeing
not
the
the
foot
ball.
soldiers for the. We're seeing the foot soldiers for the replacement.
Okay, and they're flat earthers.
But I was about to say, it's a flat
You
earthers
can
coming up with
call
this.
them whatever you like.
They're
I mean,
flat
they could be roach earthers. At the end of the day, they're just replacing the old BS. They're foot soldiers.
Did you say roach earthers?
Where's Anthony? Let's get him in.
Yep.
Let's get
No
Anthony
wonder
into.
this argument bugs me.
Let's get Sleeping Warrior in so we can call them all shills.
Nathan's trying to get a word in his own show.
Good luck. It's the after show.
Good luck.
Hey, Nathan, play that clip with Tim Osman. We might as well have something to laugh about.
I haven't dug it out, but I may dig it out. I just meant for future reference.
What video is it?
It's show 1304. Start at the 123:22 mark and go just past 124 mark. Just a couple of minutes.
1 hour, 23 minutes.
Yeah, 123:22 seconds.
1304.
Correct.
All right.
From the new force, Professor Ben Alanak from Cambridge University, who was not involved with the latest effort, said, "My spidey sense is tingling."
I read that too.
Is his statement on the web?
Yes.
Boom, boom.
This argument doesn't sound like it has a lot of legs, though.
Hold on, there's more. Hold on. Go on, Huey.
I didn't finish it. Sorry. My spidey sense is tingling and telling me that this is going to be real.
A researcher.
Yep.
I think you should go for a prostate exam, just to be sure.
His confidence is ballooning.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Oh my gosh. Some people are just a bit anal about
Gentlemen.
things.
Yes, Jin.
Sorry, guys, gentlemen. Let's not forget that this is the Cambridge University that had to concede that they carried a belief only for the heliocentric model. The the Globe Live tour of 2018 got them to concede that they carried a belief. This is Cambridge University, the same university. Look at them. Always lying, aren't they? They can never be telling the truth. There you go. This is all I'm trying to say is that we have them on YouTube, Globe Live tour, explaining to them that, there's no curvature to be found, right? We can't find the actual rotation. How can you have pressure without a container? And they had to concede that it was a belief after like 2 hours of debate at Cambridge University. And all to add.
Thanks, Jin.
And now look at what they're coming out with. Now they're coming out with a new force of nature. You're welcome.
You got a chocolate.
This new force, do you need to be conscious in order to do a measurement on it?
That was great.
It's unbelievable. These people. It's
Yeah, I'm with you. It's amazing.
Oh, statistical significance. I missed that part. There's currently a 1 in 40,000 chance that the result could be a statistical fluke, equating to a statistical level confidence described, as 4.1 sigma. Oh, a level 5 sigma, or a 1 in 3.5 million chance of the observation being a coincidence, is needed to claim a discovery. Statistical significance. The sigma levels, oh, they're getting friggin' jiggy with it now.
Let me get it straight.
It sounds mathematics to me.
Hold on. Are they saying that to even claim this as a phenomena, there's a statistical chance they didn't even encounter it? There's no science, but to claim the phenomena in the first place, they might not have done. Is that what they're saying?
I didn't hear you. Say that one more time.
Are they saying that by saying that there's a statistical analysis chance that they're not correct, they're talking about whether or not they're correct in terms of their observation of this phenomena in the first instance, not the ascertaining a cause of it, but just observing it in the first instance. Is it a phenomena or not? Is what they're trying to find out, right?
Yeah. Yep. Who knows, man? They're just misapplying this stuff like crazy.
They don't know if they've got an effect or not. We might have an effect. With a bit of luck, I'm feeling lucky, we might figure out that there's an effect to study here.
His spidey sense is tingling. Don't discount that.
It doesn't take much to get a $10 million grant these days. Hey, Kiwi?
Yep.
Did you get a $10 million grant? Didn't tell me about that.
No, I'm just saying this is what they do. They come up with these crazy things, and then they go to these universities that a bunch of rich people have their, how can I put it, money's going into, and they put it into future things that might help mankind. And then they come and present this and says, "All right, my spidey sense says this might work. All right, give them 10 million to study that."
Maybe. Well, hopefully, with a bit of luck and 10 million under your belt, you might find a phenomena to study. But no promises.
They go, God, demon father, may I have a phenomena? I'll allow it. No? Okay.
I'm telling you, they're gonna come up with the atmosphere is being contained by the gases are being held by dielectric acceleration. Magnetism is holding us here. You'll see, flat earthers are gonna push this thing all the way.
Oh, this is an attractive argument, Neil.
DQE, we don't need walls for a container for gas pressure to be established.
It works unless you're bipolar, Neil. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we do.
You're going to see. You heard it from me. I was the one that told you months ago that they say you can have -2 apples because somebody's going to owe you 2 apples. What did the guy come in yesterday saying, or the day before?
Yeah, he turned around
Neil,
on that pretty quick, though, didn't he? Asked me to show where you have a model that's got gathered up data and then is translatable into reality. And he's like, where does that not work? So we're like, you've just had 2 examples of it with a half glass of water and a couple of apples being, you having a couple of apples but giving someone else 5. Well, you can do it in maths and leave you with a deficit, but you can't give somebody 5 apples if you've only got 2. And then he said, well, that doesn't work in reality. It's like, yeah, that's what you were challenging me on. So you've immediately turned around to ask me to prove that maths is reality. No.
Yeah, but then they turn around and say it is reality because somebody's going to owe you those apples.
No. In the exchange, right, it's done in the maths, right, and you've got -3 on the one side at the end of the equation. However, in reality, if I've only got 2, I can't give you 5.
Now, you're worried about thinking about these people, but they've always existed and will always exist. The people that can't father mere masses, right? They're never going to not exist.
Okay, that's why you're telling us that. There's always going to be normies. Okay, what's your point?
It's not our job to police people who want to be religious, even if it is a downward acceleration by some sort.
But it isn't. Gas defies that. Got elastic collisions. It's not being attracted to the mass of Earth, going down, go boom, boom, or to other
course
gas.
it is.
Where does steam go?
That's due to buoyancy effects. Goes up.
Where does steam go?
Due to buoyancy.
Didn't ask that. I asked which way it went.
Yeah, and I told you the reason for it as well.
Didn't tell me which way it went.
And then I told you why as well.
No, you didn't tell me which way it went.
Well, hot steam is less dense than air, therefore.
I didn't ask that. I asked which way it went. It's a simple question. Can't you answer a simple question because it flies in the face of it going down?
I thought I'd give you a full answer.
Which way does it go?
Due to it being less dense.
I didn't ask due to. An explanation for an answer you haven't given yet, you fucking coward. Which way?
I thought I'd give you an answer, an explanation.
Just say up. Not go down, go boom, boom. Up.
It's still being accelerated.
Sorry, you're not answering me. Which way does steam go?
I told you.
You haven't answered my question at all. Which way does it go? You haven't answered. You said because of. Went straight onto an explanation for an answer you hadn't given.
Answer exactly. I give you the answer exactly.
Okay, which way does steam go?
Due to it being less buoyant, it goes.
That's not an answer. Due to isn't a direction. Do you know what a direction is?
Buoyancy,
Do you know what directions are?
Due to buoyancy.
Not due to. That's not a direction.
Due to buoyancy, it goes upwards.
It goes upwards, so it's not going down.
Due to buoyancy.
It's not going down then.
But the air around it's being accelerated downwards.
Oh, you think air goes down?
Upwards.
Which air?
Absolutely.
Okay, which air is produced in the sky and falls down?
All the air does that.
Which, specifically, name one. Which has got its production cycle for gas in the air and falls down. Which gas starts in the air and
All
falls
the
down?
air falls down just like
Name
falls
one.
and then bounces up again.
Name one.
Name one. What?
Gas, you stupid idiot. Are you dumb? You're saying gas goes down, go boom, boom. I ask which gas starts in the air and falls down, go boom, boom. Name a gas.
You mean you want the chemical?
A name of a gas. That's what I want, you dipshit.
Which? Do you want that gas?
The name of a gas. That's right. One that goes down, go boom, boom. Starts in the sky and goes down.
All do.
Which one? Name one.
When you mean the chemical?
You stuttering bonehead. None of them do, you clown.
Which? Do you want me to give you the...
Name a gas, yeah. Name a gas that goes down, go boom, boom, starts in the sky and comes down to the ground. Like rain, water, liquid. Name a gas that does that.
Oxygen.
Where's it produced? In the air?
Oxygen...
Is not produced in the sky.
Well, actually...
Actually, no. Definitely not.
Trees.
Sorry, you think
Listen,
oxygen... Sorry, are there magical oxygen factories in the sky? Is oxygen raining down on us from the oxygen factories in the sky?
There is oxygen in the air, full stop.
And has it been produced in the air and fell down, go boom, boom? Because you're saying that the steam went up because the gas went down. So presumably oxygen factories in the sky, right?
Well, it was created by...
You mean no?
Years ago.
You mean no?
Doesn't matter where it came from.
Sorry, it's supposed to be going down and it doesn't matter where it's produced. So it's not going down.
Up again.
It's not going down, go boom, boom. It's not produced in the sky and fall down like rain.
It's like bouncy balls.
Oh, is it? Bouncy balls that have elastic collisions bounce off in all directions.
Yeah, they all go off in all directions, yeah.
Yeah, well, that would mean that they'd fill the sky vacuum. So if they're bouncing off in all directions,
Just like a bouncy ball.
then they're not going down, go boom, boom.
And then they bounce up again.
Yeah, out
like bouncy
into
balls.
the sky vacuum. So space is fake.
No, they can only go so far due to the force of gravity. That's why they...
No, they're not going down, go boom, boom. Your assertion that gas go down, go boom, boom is debunked by their elastic collisions as they fly off in all directions.
That doesn't stop them coming down.
Oh, right.
That
Which
one
gas
elastic
is
collision
doing that
stops them coming
again?
downwards.
Sorry, is oxygen doing that? Oxygen's falling down,
Yes.
go boom, boom.
Correct.
Oh,
And
right.
it's going up again.
And where's it produced?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, really? So it doesn't matter that it's going to be produced at ground level. That doesn't matter.
Most of the oxygen in the
Oh, it's produced in the factories in the sky, is it, most of it? Going down, go boom, boom, falling down on us, raining oxygen, is it?
there. It's just historically there for billions of years.
How did it develop?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, right, it would need containment. So whenever I pummel you, the question doesn't matter, you coward.
Yeah, it
Doesn't
sounds
matter
like you're
where this
running.
gas comes from.
Yeah, it'd need a container. It's the necessary antecedent for the gas to press upon something.
The origin of the gas change how it behaves in the.
It doesn't go down, go boom, boom. It's not being produced in the sky and falling down on a slight rain. So it's not doing what you say. And steam is going up. You're saying it's because the gas around it goes down, but simultaneously it's just historically here and moving in all directions, when in reality produced at ground level.
Buoyancy? No, it's not.
Sorry, you're just asserting buoyancy again. So gas go down, go boom, boom. No, it doesn't.
All gas does that, yeah.
No. Gas is expanding in all directions to fill the availability of volume it has to fill.
No, it doesn't.
So you're saying gas goes down, go boom, boom. No, gas fills the availability of volume.
No, it doesn't. Not the
What's
atmosphere.
PV equals nRT?
That doesn't apply to the atmosphere.
What's PV equals nRT?
Doesn't apply to the atmosphere.
Doesn't apply to the atmosphere. Atmosphere's an oxymoron. Air doesn't take the shape of a sphere. There's a V in PV equals nRT. What's the V?
So we're doing just that.
What's
We've
the
got
V in
pictures of it doing
PV
just
equals
that.
nRT?
I miss you over talking.
What's the V? What's the V?
Well, that's PV in the equation. V is.
Why are you stuttering and stammering like a globe-believing coward who's getting raped?
I'm having to think down to your level.
You have to think about it, do you? What's the V stand for? What direction does gas go? You need to think about these very simple questions.
So you've done it again. You don't allow me to finish a sentence. I'm going to have to struggle to hear what.
What's the V, you stupid man?
I told you the PV is equal to nRT. The V in that is V, but it doesn't apply to the atmosphere.
The V is V? You stupid Dumbo.
It applies to
the V is V? Yeah, I know it's V. What's it stand for, dickhead?
I'd already said it's volume. It doesn't apply to the atmosphere.
Volume? Volume of what?
That doesn't apply to the atmosphere.
How much volume? How much volume does the historic oxygen have to fill? How much volume does it have to fill?
The volume of the atmosphere changes.
Sorry, the volume of the atmosphere. How do you measure a volume of something that has no containment?
Well, we decide where the density.
You decide? Get that, fundies? You just decide how much containment you're going to have. No, you need a container.
No, you don't.
You just decide, do you?
The force that you have on your body.
No, we haven't got a force. There's no gas going down, go boom, boom. Oxygen not produced in the sky. When I point that out, you say it's just historically all here and have conceded it moves in all directions.
Fall down, Nathan.
It does not fall down, go boom, boom. It moves in all directions to fill the V, the volume. And when I say volume of what, you say you'll decide on the volume. No, you don't get to decide. Gas expands in all directions.
Why do you think gas behaves in any way different to you do when you fall down?
Because I don't experience elastic collisions, nor do I fly up at vast speeds like gas does.
Got nothing to do with the direction.
Sorry, do I fly up like steam at high velocity? Because if not, I'm nothing like steam. But you need me to be like gas that goes down, go boom, boom, because I go down, go boom, boom. Yes, steam doesn't do that. And neither does the gas around it.
Second, if you were moving at 500 meters per second.
I'm not. I'm definitely not moving up at 500 meters per second. And your comparison with gas isn't either.
It is. That's what gas molecule.
It is. What, going down, go boom, boom? Like I do. Why aren't I going up? Well, I'm not steam.
Assuming you didn't suffer from drag, you would go up to about 60 miles.
No, I wouldn't. I'm not going up because I haven't got elastic collisions like a gas.
With anything.
I'm not going up.
Second is the thing that counts.
So you're making a false comparison and you're now ignoring me and rumpusing me. Fundy muting the censoring started as it has stuttering rumpus. Stuttering rumpus next.
If I shot you out of a kettle.
Stuttering rumpus
next. If I shot you out of a kettle at 500 meters per second, you would go up.
Shut the hell up.
He's decided to censor me. False comparison. Maybe he'll listen to my response rather than censor it. No, I'm not a gas. I'm not experiencing elastic collisions. I'm not comparable to a steam particle, which does experience elastic collisions as it flies up out of the kettle as a gas. Now, like...
Elastic collisions make no difference.
Oh, do they not? Do I, as a solid, experience elastic collisions? No. Do gases...
Yes, you do.
Am I getting censored again?
No
censored again. Censorship, eh? You can't let the rebuttal come through, coward. Censorship.
Well, okay, you let me have a sentence.
Yeah, censorship. Yeah, I'm not a gas because I don't experience elastic collisions and therefore I'm going down through the air. The air itself does experience elastic collisions and expands in all directions to fill the V, the volume. Now, the V, according to Rumpus, stands for V and isn't important and doesn't apply to atmosphere. Right?
because it changes in the atmosphere changes in volume all the time. So there's no fixed volume of the atmosphere. And so where you decide it ends, because of the pressure gradient.
Sorry, where I decide it ends, we don't arbitrarily decide where containment ends. And V is the amount of volume the gas can fill. And you're arbitrarily deciding where that will end.
Yeah, we're going to interrupt you, Mr. Solids or Gases. Yeah. You need to be institutionalized immediately, son. Yes. Clown.
False comparison. He needs gas to go down, go boom, boom, so it doesn't fly off into space. Now, gas behavior, it would fly off into space. So he needs it to go down, and that's precisely what he's going to assert. How? By claiming I am like a gas particle flying out of a kettle. And if I fly out of a kettle at 500 meters per second, I'll come back down again. I will, because I'm a solid. If I was blasted out of a cannon at that rate, yeah, I would come back down, but I'm not experiencing elastic collisions. When I put that to him, he says it's not important. It is important. It's also the end of his argument, but he's going to censor that conclusion because gas has elastic collisions and expands into the volume. I don't. But he needs gas to behave like me and have me, by analogy, coming out of a kettle at 500 meters per second. That's what he's done. And then ignored all challenge. Not important when I point out elastic collisions and gas experiencing them. He says it doesn't matter. Yeah, you fundy. This is what you've got to do, globe believers, because your space isn't real. Gas would fill it. It's what it does. How much space? He didn't answer that either. It would be the volume of space that you think the sky vacuum is. That's how much space. And you could then calculate with PV equals nRT exactly how quick it would all dissipate into it. Because that's the volume it would have to fill.
Depends on what they decide.
It depends on the container I decide the gas is going to have today. I'm going to call it the Kármán line. It's variable, but I'm just going to arbitrarily decide where this gas stops. And at that arbitrary position, it'll stop and come back down like you would if you jumped up that high. Elastic collisions, you say, not important.
I'm sorry, the U.S. doesn't recognize Kármán line.
Just deceit. He's deceiving the audience. Rumpus is intentionally deceiving you through a globe head because he's told you elastic collisions aren't important in this discussion. Yeah, they are, because they demolish gravity. Gas isn't going down, go boom, boom towards the centre of Earth or towards each other because mass attracts mass. They're bouncing off each other. That's what elastic collisions are. It debunks his assertion of a force holding the gas here arbitrarily at a line that he's going to arbitrarily assign as the volume to get around the fact that he hasn't got a volume. Well, he has. It would be space and we'd all be dead.
But what I love is how detailed Rumpus is until he's asked something he doesn't want to answer. Because then all of a sudden, no, that doesn't matter. Also, we're talking about gas and how it moves, but where it's produced. No, that doesn't matter.
I say, gas doesn't go down, go boom, boom. Rumpus says, yes, it does. I say, which way does steam go? And his answer is, because of buoyancy, that's not a direction. He did that 5 times. Because he can't just arbitrarily admit on the spot when he says, yes, gas does go down, which way does steam go? Up. Because it makes him look completely idiotic. But he'd rather not answer and then give an explanation without actually answering with a direction. Now, after about 6 attempts, he said, yeah, because of buoyancy, it goes up, and then carried on muttering through the concession that it's not going down. And he says, well, the air around it goes down. No, it doesn't. It also expands in all directions into the volume of space it has. Now, there's laws that describe how that occurs, and he's got to assign arbitrary barriers that don't exist to conform to those laws. Why is he drawing out lines around things and having atmosphere at a certain amount? Well, because he's still got to confine his argument around those gas laws, but just say that the elastic collisions don't really matter. Well, why have you got these laws? Why would it expand into the volume? Because that's how gas behaves, and it debunks space. So therefore, elastic collisions, not important. Not important because I want them to go down, go boom, boom. Not bounce off each other and go in any direction. No, down. So therefore, the bit that says they're not doing that doesn't matter. Lies, deceit, necessity for a globe belief.
You still think elastic collisions interfere with the motion?
Sorry, you said they weren't important a minute ago because you're having gas go down, go boom, boom.
Holy shit, man.
A minute ago, elastic collisions weren't relevant to the subject. I point out exactly how they are how they're relevant, and Rumpus jumps back in to say, you think elastic collisions, what, the ones that you poo-pooed, decried, and said weren't relevant? Now they're worthy of discussion, though. A minute ago, they weren't relevant. I've pointed out why you, with gas going down, go boom boom, needs elastic collisions that make gas go in all directions to be irrelevant. You also need to say that gas go down, go boom boom, and when I point out that steam doesn't, you can't even say up. You pathetic little weasel. Which way does that steam go? You can't even say up. Took 6 attempts, you pathetic little worm. That's because you know how fucked your globe is. You know damn well how wrong you are when you assert gas goes down and that the air around the steam's forcing it down. So when you stick a kettle on, suddenly the air around it's pressing down and forcing it up because gravity's pulling the air around it down. Well, what the fuck is gravity? A non-force in pseudo-force space? Now that definitely isn't pulling anything down, especially when you've got elastic collisions that describe gas not attracting to other gases, mass attracts mass, bouncing off them. Couldn't be any further away from mass attracting mass. What happens when they get to Earth if they happen to be going down? They bounce off it and go up. They're not attracted to it, quite the contrary. But that pisses in the face of their assertions of gravity now, doesn't it? I wonder how Hillbilly's getting on with his redneck retard contraption that asserts mass attracts mass when we have elastic collisions. Are you supporting this crap, Rumpus? Oh, are you back on server, Deafin, because you don't want to listen to anything, and unless you're censoring it, you won't be part of the conversation? Of course. You're listening, Blue Marble Science. I can debunk your apparatus that asserts that mass attracts mass with gas. It's got a mass and it's not attracting. It's bouncing off and going in all directions. Definitely not attracting. Completely the opposite, in fact. Repelling, if you will. So why are you messing around with Cavendish? It's 106 years out of date. And I can annihilate it with gas, which in your worldview has mass also. Definitely not attracting. Now, I hear you're getting praise from universities for your contraption. Do they know that we've pointed out that gas flies in the face of this contraption? And it's a 106-year out-of-date assertion of this force, where gases with mass will attract one another even though they repel? Yeah, we debunked it a long time ago. But yet we still have clown shows coming here and asserting this rhetoric that needs them to literally assert that the gas has been produced in the sky and fell to the ground. Nonsense.
Well, if mass attracts mass, and
What's
that's
mass?
why, you know, the water can hold itself onto a ball, then as far
What's
as
mass?
mountains go, like, wouldn't there be more pressure around mountains?
What's mass?
I don't know.
Then don't assume it. And what's he going to do next, Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, a.k.a. the photosynthetic redneck, a.k.a. no marble science? What you going to do next, a phlogiston experiment?
No, I'm being serious.
Oh, and by the way,
you've dealt with Anthony up until now, and he's been humouring you. So now you can deal with this. Why isn't gas attracting other gases? Why is it that the enormity of the claim to be mass of a sphere Earth isn't attracting gas to it? Should it encounter that giant claim to be mass of Earth, it bounces immediately off and goes in another direction, the opposite direction of that mass. Quite the contrary of an attracting force when it can repel something so tiny with mass, like a gas particle. Equally, the gases themselves, they don't attract each other. They hit and collide and bounce off, repel. Now, I'd like an address from Blue Marble Science. I'll trim it out, put your name on it, and I expect you to answer. And explain why you're making this assertion when gas, which has mass, simply does not do that. I'd like an answer.
you ain't going to get any answer from that crayon muncher. He could barely speak without drooling all over himself. He's that stupid.
You can interact with Anthony because Anthony's playing with his same apparatus. He can interact with me when I have a query about that same apparatus. If he doesn't, he'll be called out on
the
it.
phlogiston apparatus.
No, the Cavendish apparatus that asserts
Same
mass
thing.
mass. Phlogiston's burning stuff, isn't it? Is that a claim for? The...
It's in the same category.
Oh, it's pseudoscience nonsense. But that's a genuine objection that I'm raising right now for blue marble science specifically. If it's claimed that mass attracts mass and you're claiming that that phenomena requires explanation, therefore, to explain it, you have your apparatus in the form of a Cavendish torsion bar and balls suspended from it, then why would it be the case that something with mass, like gas, isn't attracting mass? Quite the contrary. I'd like an answer.
Are you saying mass? What's mass?
Their mass. They claim mass.
Oh,
they have a
sorry.
description for it.
How many?
2.
Oh, by the way, I was trying to get this out for a while. The U.S. doesn't recognize the imaginary Kármán line, so you're going to have to come up with a different volume value when you come here to the States. Just to let you know.
He said that. He got around that. We decide, he said. Completely arbitrary.
We decide where the Kármán line is?
We decide what the volume will be. What the atmosphere will be. The limitations of the atmosphere will be decided arbitrarily by whatever fundy is asserting that gas actually takes the shape of a sphere, it manifests in a vacuum and doesn't disperse into it in violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Because we arbitrarily assign how much volume we're going to calculate that gas with today.
They have a volume without a container. How's that possible?
It isn't. Censorship ensued when I asked Rumpus that very question. He also said that the PV equals nRT doesn't apply to atmosphere.
Yeah, he says a lot of things, doesn't he? Do you have to be conscious to look at the atmosphere?
To look at it. You dream
This is
about
where it's coming
atmosphere.
to.
Is that technically looking at it whilst unconscious? No,
Say
it's
again?
not. I said if you dream about atmosphere, like you Superman flying around it in your dream, for instance, does that count as seeing it whilst unconscious?
I thought that unconscious reporting of results was the linchpin of pseudoscientific method. You know what I mean? It's the foundation of their thing is supposition. So a linchpin, I would suggest it is.
It's not, because you don't even need to observe a phenomena. You can hope that you might find a phenomena, and then on the proviso that you've got a hope or a spidey sense that you might see something happening that might need explanation, you can come up with a just so story based on your hope that you might see a phenomena. I mean, that's pretty loose, man. I mean, there's a lot you can do with that if you're going to be making up stories. I could do a lot with that.
Wasn't that Sly Sparkane John this week in your numpty clip? I'm off to do an
The
experiment.
hypothesis, hopscotch.
I'm very proud to have been a part of that. That was early days after learning what science was, and you described me as like a blank canvas. It still needed 10 times selling, but there we go. And, you know, very shortly after we got Sly Sparkane in, I'm like, well, what's the hypothesis? I'll come up with that afterwards, after we do the test.
I threw the Tim Osman, a little bit of it in the one of the chats. I think Master B and the other one.
Have a look. Thank you.
If it loaded right, hopefully.
Master B. Okay, we all ready?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know you don't. You're dumb as fuck. The horizon's not a physical edge. Do you need me to rattle off a few quotes from your own side about how non-physical the horizon is? 2020, mate. Try and keep up. The horizon is not a physical geometric sphere edge, Tim. Didn't you know? You seem to know about the black swan, but yet you don't know what it means.
What is it then, Nathan?
There's my black swan. It's actually been posted.
Sorry, the black swan we have debunks your claim that this touted shite that you've just presented, claimed to be undebunkable, has just been annihilated by the fact we don't have a physical sphere edge. And that's what you're claiming is Earth curve, mate. Maybe ignore it for the 7th time.
Any of those claims. I've never made any of this. You're strawmanning.
Oh, really? So the horizon in this image isn't Earth curve?
You're
Now that he
strawmanning me or ignoring what I've just pointed out. So you've never made that claim. So the horizon in your image is touted for the last 2 years is an Earth curve then, Tim?
Now that Tim is actually
Shut up. Whoever that is, shut up. Mr. Solaris, shut up.
Say that? Does anyone say that the horizon is Earth curve?
Yeah, you do, you dumb fuck. So you're saying the horizon is an Earth curve, right, Tim? Nobody says that, right? Welcome to Flat Earth. So just for the clarity that it needs, Tim's just made it clear that nobody claims the horizon's Earth curve, right, Tim?
I've never heard that someone says that the horizon is Earth curve.
Oh, really? What do you think the Earth curve maths is asserting then, Tim?
You're a straw manning his position.
Can you
and
shut
not
up,
addressing
Mr.
the picture
Solaris,
he's
or whatever
posting
you're called? Perfect. There was two other in that same show where he basically said, this one's pretty much verbatim, nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. But that's obviously in there somewhere. I'll dig it out when I go back and watch it. Thank you very much for doing that, Chocolate.
No problem.
No, this wasn't live.
Listen to it again.
There's an Arwin laugh in there because that's when Tim's got the picture up showing where it says in the corner Earth curve.
No, it says it's a picture, right? A composite of several various heights of a horizon out over the Salt Lake. So it's lots of horizons. And the title is This is Earth Curve.
Because he says, I've never claimed.
Well, that's what I'm asking him about. I'm saying, so the images in your claim to be proof of a sphere Earth aren't Earth curve then? It's like, no one's ever claimed that. It's like, yeah, because he's just had the black swan explained to him, hasn't he? How it's no longer a geometric physical tangent point sphere edge horizon, Earth curve horizon. It's not that. Definitely not. Told by their side it's not. And by then he's told us that it's not. But then he's into, well, what about your images that you're touting as being Earth curve then? Well, nobody's claiming the horizon's Earth curve. Epic. Any more comment on Tim Osman?
Sorry, I thought it was live for a moment there.
No. Oh, you thought that was happening? No.
Yeah.
No.
Why, you're thinking about ending the show?
Hey, shut up and all that, but it was recording.
It was. On that note, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus Panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and becoming a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.